What is the difference between good and bad React developer, and why it's so easy to write bad React code? Let's dive in. Welcome my channel, my name is Daniel Noworyta, and on this channel I'm showing strategies, tools and techniques on how to improve your coding skills, how to improve your coding career and how to get your first job in IT. If you are new here, consider subscribing. Let's dive into today's topic. Writing good React code is not easy because you have to keep in mind many things if you wanna, for example, avoid extra re-renders. And I think when you're learning React and you are introducing each new concept into your tool belt, it's even harder because those pool of things is growing within each new concept which you are introducing into your tool belt of React knowledge. So good proper React code, it's not so easy, but there are some tools and ways how you should think about this, how you should think about this library, and how you should use this library correctly. React doesn't enforce particular code guidelines on writing code style. That's why in large scale applications it can make a lot of problems for teams. What I see in my career, yeah? So if you don't start from answering questions like how you wanna architecture your app or how you wanna structurize your folders, your components, you can get in troubles. Because I think like this freedom which React gives us developers, it's also a curse if we don't have like strict rules and plan which we can stick with. So I think React really shines in large scale applications, but only in case where team has really good rules and ideas how to structure all layers of applications, and if the team is stick with those rules religiously, not only you, but all team members which are involved in developing project. Many of the code base which I've seen struggles from stuff like we don't have structure, we fucked up data flow, everything is too complex, we cannot maintain this project anymore, we cannot write new components. But the root of those problems is always coming from the time before, from decisions which you made along the way. If you don't have like strict rules, if you don't have like proper architecture idea for your app, everything will collapse because React is giving you a lot of freedom how you can write your components, how you can structurize your app. So each developer in your team has his own ideas, and if there are no strict rules, after some time that kind of code base can be a little bit mess, especially if this is like monorepo, especially if the one code base is involving a lot of business logic and a lot of smaller components of the product. This can be really hard to maintain without those rules. That's why I think if you have proper structure, if you have proper idea how to structure your app, how to architecture your app, all of the layers of your app, it would be much easier to use React in your projects. Now, what I would like to show you is the way how you should think about writing React components, how you should think about writing logic in your React project. So let's jump in to the code and let's see something on the screen and let's talk a little bit about this. What I want to show you right now, it's one of the examples of the components which I see commonly in React code bases, and I would like to focus here on some basics which could improve this component dramatically, and it will make this component more maintainable, more clear for other devs, and easier to apply new changes to the code. But first, let's talk about problems which we have here on the screen. So first of the problems which I see actually is lack of the component separation here. If you take a look on what we are rendering here at the bottom, we are rendering div which has two elements. They look simple. We have just paragraph with some text, with some dynamic number, and we have button which is supposed to increment on each click our state in the component. Yeah, so we have state for count, and the button on each click is incrementing the state, and we have here like DOM manipulation, which is another problem here within this component. And this side effects, it's like directly manipulating DOM, which is directly like red flag for me when I take a look on the code like this. And we shouldn't manipulate the DOM inside the component. Components should be pure functions. And here another problem which I can see is the state. It's not well defined or managed in this case. Yeah, so we have some state which is like also used here and also used in this place. It is somehow tricky here. So now I would like to I would like to show you correct flow, how you should think when you try implement new features and when you try to write React code. First, I think I'm always starting from getting my presentation and splitting this presentation into components. Yeah. So what I mean by that, it's here I see probably two components. I see one component which would be like counter display and another component which would be like increment button component. This part should be like one component and this part here should be like another component. Yeah, this is the first stuff which I always try to come up with. The second stuff which I think about is like define states. Yeah, so I'm trying to always define possible states, such as incrementing the count in this case and stuff like this. So this is like the second question which you should answer yourself when you try to write better React code. Third question is like define transitions and what should happen and when. In this case, we should define transition, what should happen on updating the document title. What kind of effect is it? Kind of tip, yeah? And fourth stuff is define side effects. What should happen and when, and what should be an effect of something, yeah? So define side effects and such as in this case, like updating document title. This is one of the important side effects here in this logic, which we should come up with. Now, if we have this, let's try to implement pure components and let's try to refactor this logic and make it more reusable. Let's start from separating our components and moving them outside from our counter logic here. So I see here two components right now. We have first one, which is like counter display, and the second one, it's our increment button. So we can start from create. I will keep everything in one file to make things simple to understand. Const counter display is equal. Here we need to pass some props. Yeah, we know this component has some variable which is dynamic, so we should pass this count here and return this stuff which we have here. We can directly use this component and we need to pass count like that. So we have like first, already you see it's like this component, it's much cleaner. You can imagine in a large code bases, those components can be pretty huge. So I'm really big fan of making them smaller and smaller until I will get like one single piece of UI, which I could come up with simple logic, which is getting some props and displaying me something on the screen. And this is what counter display is doing already. We can type this also because we have here some kind of any, so we are in the TypeScript world. So we can say this count is type of number. That's it. First part is done, yes. So the second one, component I see, it's like this increment button. So we can do similar thing here, const increment button, which will take some prop, and you can see already in this case it's handle click, so we can just pass this here and we will give back our button with increment function connected. Handle click, we have also here TypeScript, so we can make handle click that this is like void, and we can use our increment button and we can pass our handle click. Right now you see it's much simpler to maintain those two small UI pieces. We have like simple counter display and we have simple increment button one, but this stuff is not yet done because we can see in the logic of maintaining state and updating our document title, it's something wrong here, yeah? So the next stuff is side effects. One of the side effects which I see and clearly is screaming at me right now, it's like this document title update. We are updating the title of the document when count is changed. So for me, this looks like use effect. Perfect case for using use effect with one dependency, which is count. So here, use effect, and we can copy this logic, paste it here, and we can paste like this. We need to import use effect from React at the top, so we can get rid of this. Still, this handle click is somehow not correctly done for me, because we have function which is setting count +1, but it's not taking in consideration the latest value of count. So the proper way of doing this, it could be either like we will make use callback here, or we just pass correct call for set count here. Yeah, so we can make function which is like const is equal use callback, and this function is just setting our count. We can use prev value, and we can just prev +1. We have to import our use callback from React. We have to make our dependencies array, but in this case, because it's set count, we don't have to put it into dependencies, and we can pass our increment here, and we can get rid of this stuff here. So that was the last part, which was like taking out our effects and make our state management more clear. So as you can see, even simple components like this can make a lot of problems for devs if they are trying to develop things too fast, and if they are not trying to think in correct order. I hope you get some value from this video. If you like it, you probably would also like this one here. In the next one, I would like to talk about proper architecture, proper structure for your React app. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe my channel. I hope you will get some value. Thank you for attention today. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.